We're going over the salmon techniques that we used at Addison, a 2 Michelin star restaurant, to show you how to nail salmon every time at home. We're going to be serving it with truffle glazed leeks, Parisian potatoes, pickled mustard seeds, a mustard chive beurre blanc, and crisp salmon skin. Let's cook some salmon. To remove the skin, slide your knife in between the skin and the fish. Keep the blade in the same spot and pull tight on the skin, wiggling till it comes through. Trim up the bloodline by using single stroke slices. This will help prevent any saw marks. Check for any bones by running your fingers along the side and top of the salmon. This is totally optional, but I like to round the top and the bottom. These areas easily overcook, and I think it looks way nicer. Make sure to save these extra pieces for chef snacks or tartare. Cure both sides of the fish by lightly covering with salt. It should be a thin dusting. Then place in the fridge in an area with nice airflow, which is usually the top shelf, and cure for 24 hours. The salmon that I use most often is this Faroe Island, but when in season, I prefer to use wild king salmon. What I like about this fish is the fat content and how easily available it is. At the restaurant, we used to cure this with the skin on for 2 days, but I found by removing the skin and seasoning the underside, it expedites the curing process from 2 days to 1. I would go a minimum of 2 hours if you're rushing, but ideally, you should go 24 hours. You can really see the difference between cured for 24 hours and fresh. Curing the fish will bring out the water, intensifying the flavor and creating a better texture. For the skin, remove any large pieces of fat, but keep some of the fat on. The fat has all the salmon flavor, and if you remove too much, the skin will taste like nothing. Flip the skin around and scrape the scales away. Then scrape in the opposite direction to remove any excess water. Use a paper towel to remove any scales or moisture that is still on the skin. Place on a lined sheet tray and bake at 250 degrees Fahrenheit, 120 degrees Celsius until dry. This usually takes between 30 and 40 minutes. It's really about a balance of removing the fat and the water. The fat has all the flavor, so if you remove too much, you're gonna have no flavor at all. But if you leave too much on, it's gonna take a really long time to dry out. Once it's finished, it should be really crispy. It should have some flex, but if I did go all the way, it would snap easily. The best way to store this is with an airtight lid on. This will prevent the skin from getting too much moisture, which will allow it not to pop. For the pickled mustard seeds, start by blanching the seeds 1 to 3 times. In a pot, combine 90 grams of white wine vinegar, 30 grams water, 7 grams sugar, a pinch of salt, and the seeds. Boil for 10 minutes and store off the side. Like most pickles, these will taste better after marinating for 24 hours. Blanching the seeds will help remove the tannins. I prefer 1 time because I like the flavor of the tannins, but if you don't really like that flavor, 3 times will make it very light. One thing that I like about them is that they have a nice texture like caviar. And when you eat them, they have a pop. For the salmon, trim up the ends to have a clean cut and portion. This salmon weighed 16 ounces before curing. Once cured and trimmed, it will drop down to around 10 ounces, which is perfect for 2. Place the butter below and above the salmon and place in a 250 degrees Fahrenheit, 120 degrees Celsius oven. Cooking time will depend on the size of the fish, but my fish took around 12 minutes. The butter for the salmon and butter for cooking in general, I just use basic supermarket butter. This is from Trader Joe's, organic, always get unsalted. I'll pull out something like a Kerrygold for when I'm making a sauce. This has a lot higher fat content, and cooking with it, you're not gonna get the benefit of that, but serving in stuff like sauces, you will. This is the best way to tell if a piece of fish is cooked all the way. This is a cake tester. I'll have it linked down in the description. This is the cheapest tool that will improve your cooking the most. The best ways to tell if it's done, butter will be completely melted. If the butter's cold, it's raw. I usually can tell by looking at it. You feel by touch. This is a little soft right here, so I would say it needs at least another 2 minutes. The most reliable way is with a cake tester. Stick it in. You should feel no resistance from the fibers. Leave it in there for 10 seconds. Pull out and put on your wrist. This is just above body temperature. Close, but not quite there. Ideal temperature for me is 120 degrees Fahrenheit, 51 degrees Celsius, or about medium. The cake tester will be warm. 145 degrees Fahrenheit, 63 Celsius is cooked all the way, and it will be like a little zap. Once the fish is done, remove any albumin, which is the white protein found in fish and eggs. Nappe the fish in beurre mont, which means to coat. To make the beurre mont, start by adding enough cream or water to just barely cover the bottom of the pan. Cream is easier to work with because it is a mixture of fat and water, but I only use it if I already have it on hand. Add in the cold cubed butter a little at a time until it's fully emulsified. Cold butter will help regulate the temperature of the beurre monté, and cubing the butter makes it easier to add in. Once the beurre monté is finished, season with a little bit of salt. Any leftover beurre monté can be turned into clarified butter or brown butter and ghee, or as we used to call it at Addison, CBB. Clarified brown butter. So the reason why you want to put beurre monté on the fish is because it creates a barrier. Fat is going to help keep moisture into the fish, and when we go to reheat it, the fat is going to create a barrier from the high heat, preventing it from drying out. To make the mustard beurre blanc, add 1/4 cup of white wine, 1/4 cup of white wine vinegar, 1 small shallot sliced, 5 whole peppercorns, season, and cook till all set, which means almost dry. Next, add in 15 grams of heavy cream. I didn't reduce the vinegar far enough, so I had to reduce it down a little bit more once I added the cream. Next, go in with 4 ounces of cold cubed butter. This is the same idea as the beurre monté. Add in 15 grams of Dijon, then strain. Finish the sauce with a splash of vinegar or lemon and salt if needed. Whenever you finish a sauce, you always want to add a little bit of acidity at the end. Because we cook the sauce so much, we're reducing all the acidity out and we're bringing out sweetness. My favorite vinegar to add at the end is sherry vinegar, but fresh acid like lemon will work great too. For the braised leeks, we want them to be a similar size to our potatoes, which we're using a Parisian scoop for. Move any extra layers of the leek so that it is the same width as the scoop. Then slice it, place the leeks into a small pan, covering halfway up the leek with chicken stock. Season with some salt, add in some truffle butter, linked below, and top with a cartouche. To fold the cartouche, I first should have cut the paper in half. Instead, I folded in half first. Fold in half again, then create a triangle by folding the paper over to a hard crease. It is important that the hard crease is in the middle. Then fold one more time and cut to the desired width. Cook the leeks at a simmer for 3 minutes or until the bottom of the leeks are tender. Move the lid and flip over the leeks. You may have to scoot them to the edge so that they do not turn into volcanoes. Cook down the glaze until it is thick. But since these have to sit a little, it's best to leave it a little loose and tighten up right before plating. For the pome's Parisian, use a Parisian scoop and scoop out rounds of potatoes. Trim away the peel so that they have a flat bottom and place into a pan with melted butter. Be sure not to toss the rest of the potato. I peeled them and turned them into mashed potatoes. Once all the potatoes are in the butter, season with a little salt and cook on medium heat. Be sure to rotate them in the butter so that they cook evenly. Once they are tender, with no resistance whatsoever, turn the heat to medium-high and add in some thyme and garlic. And cook until GBD, golden brown and delicious. Transfer to a wire rack. Be sure to serve soon. Like fresh french fries, these get soggy fast. To puff the salmon skin, place in a 400 degrees Fahrenheit, 205 degrees Celsius oil. Once puffed, transfer to a wired rack and season with Kosher. These will sog out, so be sure to fry off only what you need. Reheat the salmon under a broiler on low heat for 30 to 60 seconds. Tighten up the glazed leek. Once warm, cover with a little bit of sauce and add some finishing salt for contrast. Finishing salts that I use? The first one is called sel gris, also known as gray salt. This is a finishing salt from France. It's very minerally. It goes great on any kind of meat. Another one I really like, fleur de sel, flower of the sea. It's another French finishing salt. The grains are really fine. I like to use this on vegetables and fish. Place down the leeks and the potatoes in a circle. Fill the circle with mustard seeds, then place the salmon on the opposite side. Pour a little sauce next to the salmon halfway down the fish. Finish the sauce with a little bit of chive oil, chive tips on the potatoes, and add the puffed salmon skin. If you want to learn how to make the chive oil, you should watch this video next.